All right, everybody, welcome back to the Tennessee Brando Show. Hope everyone is doing good on this Thursday. Not sure exactly why this keeps happening to me, but I've been sitting here trying to connect this live stream over to Facebook, and it keeps kicking me off. So I don't know if we've made it over there or not. I'm going to check here in just a minute and see if we've made it over to Facebook. But for whatever reason, my platform just continues to kick me off every time that I try to add Facebook into the mix. It will say I'm now connected, and then I'm live now, and it's not showing that Facebook is connected, and I'm not seeing it connecting over here. So I don't know why that kept happening. I've been sitting here for the last 20 minutes, continuing to add it, and for whatever reason, it's not doing anything. So looks like I can't add it to it at the moment. So sorry to say we're not over on Facebook tonight. But hopefully we'll get that worked out and be back on there on Tuesday. So if you want to, y'all could share the live stream over to Facebook and let everybody know that we're over here. And again, I apologize about that. Don't know why that's happening, but that's just technology, and that's my luck with it. Also, I'm hoping like hell that I'm not starting to get sick, but I have been battling a runny nose and sneezing all evening, so we'll see how it goes. I can't make any promises, but there's plenty to talk about. I mean, the world is absolutely burning down around us, so we can always talk about that. And we've been doing something new here on the show, like the last 15 minutes or so. Um, and sometimes we might have tapped out earlier than that, but what we've been doing the last 15 minutes or so of the show, we've decided to change the subject. Someone called it cleansing our palates. And I really like that. I like the idea of calling it cleansing our palates because after you talk about Donald Trump, and on my list, I've got, talk about Donald Trump, Darlene Graham, Lindsey Graham's sister. We're going to talk some about Natalie Harp and Scott Jennings. And after you get done talking about those scumbags, you just really got a dirty taste in your mouth. And you absolutely do need to cleanse your palate. So that's what we've been doing, say, the last 15 minutes or so of the show. We've just been changing the subject and talking about other things. And so, one thing I did earlier today was I made a post over on the YouTube community channel and was like, hey, what is some things that you all would like to hear us talk about at the end of the show? How can we change it up? And so I got some great comments. And so when we get down to the end of the show, I'm just going to go over and pretty much just play grab bag there. I'm just going to pull some things out that people recommended, and we'll wind down talking about that. But again, if you're just tuning in, hope everyone is having a good Thursday. For whatever reason, my technology is not cooperating with me today, and I wasn't able to get it up on Facebook. It just kept kicking the Facebook stream off, and so don't know why that's happening, but hopefully we'll be back. So if y'all don't care, some of you share this stream over to the Facebook and let them know that we're here, because there's probably people that tunes in only over there. It's weird how people consumes their social media. um, I mainly consume YouTube. If I'm being honest, YouTube is mainly where I go for anything or everything. I guess Facebook probably would be in second place for me, and TikTok would probably be third. Although I hate the platform in general. Saw Tom Powell a while ago. He was doing the blind ranks where you rank things, and he was doing a blind rank of social media apps. And he pretty much said exactly how I feel about TikTok, which is as far as like recording videos on the platform and editing them, editing. I'll talk right in a minute. Doing the edits and all that on the TikTok platform, it works great, but the rules are such bullshit, and the way that you go about getting shadow banned and kicked off and demonetized and all this bullshit over there, it's a bullshit platform, but it is convenient and easy to use in the recording side of things. So but I mainly watch YouTube, and then I guess Facebook, Instagram, TikTok will be the main ones that I use. Haven't written anything on Substack in a while. I was thinking about that earlier. I do need to get back over to writing on Substack. I will get there eventually. Um, but I do enjoy typing and writing because it's a different approach. It's a totally different approach um, than doing the video. Because when I do the video, I just hit record, start talking. Especially when you're live, there's no going backwards. I like that myself. I like the live feel. When I was playing music all those years, I preferred to be live because you just keep rolling with it, even if you do make a mistake. And sometimes it's not a mistake. Sometimes you just roll into a new territory you never been in, and it's good when you do. But when you're doing this kind of content, and you're talking this way. It's just sort of a stream of consciousness. But when you're when you're typing, you got room to hit backspace and you got room to think about it a little bit more. And I enjoy doing that too. So hopefully I'll get back to writing over there eventually, but just haven't been able to as of late and just really haven't been in the mood, if I'm just being honest. So maybe I'll get back in the mood and start back on that next week. There's plenty to write about, plenty to talk about because we live in Donald Trump's America at the moment. And I really kind of feel dirty saying that. It's really not his America. He just happened to hijack it and take it away from decent people and give it to all of the low life people in the world. So one thing that he's doing that would absolutely get any other president crucified. The thing about Donald Trump is he can put stuff like this out and people just writes it off like, he's just tweeting, Brando. He's just being Trump. Don't take him seriously. And I really hate when people says he won't do that or they won't let him do that. It's like bullshit. They're letting him do that. I mean, people are absolutely letting him do that, and he's doing it. He has no regard for the law or the Constitution or anything else. So he made this post right here. No one has given the Islamic Republic of Iran a greater opportunity to make a deal than me. Tragically for them, they have failed to take it. Therefore, today I'm announcing the most crushing economic operation ever taken against any country. This will be economic warfare and isolation on an unprecedented scale. Their navy is gone, their air force is destroyed, their military factories are in rubble, their currency is worthless, and their country is hanging by a thread. Today, I'm announcing that any country that allows its financial institutions, businesses, airports, or government entities to provide any type of lifeline to Iran will itself face tremendous economic consequences and blah, blah, blah. So, the guy that said he was going to put America first is going to do something like this and have catastrophic effects on all of us. So, in case you missed it, the whole concept of America first went right out the door. He abandoned that a long time ago. He has no intention whatsoever of ever putting America first. Really, the only thing he has is putting himself first. And what happened was he goes over there, he kicks a hornet's nest in Iran. He does not know how to get out of it. And so he's just going to lash out and do whatever he wants to do at that particular moment. And then you've got Pete Hegseth to contend with, who they say is gearing up to run for president. And also talking about how he has his wife in the meetings, all the top meetings that he goes to, he pretty much has his wife sitting there doing all of his work. It's ridiculous that we're here. But as we see more and more people struggle to buy groceries, struggle to put gas in their tanks, it's ridiculous that you got a guy that just goes out there and says, "Oh, we're going to have economic warfare. We're going to wage war on the world economically," and we don't even really know what that means fully. But I know, for example, that if I want to get a record shipped from like overseas, I used to order records all the time, and it would come from Germany or England, wherever I ordered from, and it wouldn't cost much at all to get it shipped over here. Now it's like $35 just to get a record shipped. I don't know what it is for everything else, but I know if I go to, there's a record store I follow online. I love it. It's called Rockabye Records. They're over in England. I love it. I love hearing them talk about music, and I've bought a few things from them. But you pretty much have to say to yourself, well, I'm going to spend, I'm going to buy 2 records today, because usually records, a decent one in good shape is going to be anywhere from 25 to $40. So, you pay like 35 for a record and pay 35 to ship it. Like me and my buddy was talking today, you're better off to just go ahead and order several if you're going to order from over there and get your money's worth at least. But this whole economic warfare that he's declaring, he doesn't care if it throws any of us under the bus or any of us suffers, because he's never had to deal with it. Donald Trump has never had to live day to day the way that we do. He's never had to worry about putting food on his table. It's always came to him. He's never had to, the guy's probably never pumped gas in his life. I mean, stop and think about all the things that this guy probably never did. Things that you do all the time. You take your parents to the doctor when they get sick. You give your neighbor a ride to the doctor when they get sick. You take your kids back and forth to school. You go to the events at your kid's school. You talk to the teachers, the principals, do all that. When did Donald Trump do any of those things? When did he do basic day-to-day life? He never did. It was always handed to him on a silver platter. So it's nothing to him to go wreck an economy somewhere, and it end up wrecking the entire world. And he does not care to burn the whole world down. And that's why when Marjorie Taylor Greene a couple of days ago made a post talking about how that Donald Trump was considering using a nuclear bomb during in Iran, I'm like, I realize it's Marjorie Taylor Greene saying that, and for Marjorie Taylor Greene to tell on Trump is kind of like when Susan Atkins told on Charles Manson. I understand that. I understand she's a psycho. I'm not trying to give her credit, but it's just the fact that she says that, and it's just kind of like we look over at it and go, what the hell was that? But then it's not even really in the mainstream news. It's not even really being talked about. There's people like us talking about it. And that's one of the most frustrating things about all this to me is people will say to me all the time, they'll say, well, they'll say the internet's not real life. Like what you see on YouTube and what you see on Facebook, that's not real life. Well, so you're telling me mainstream news is? Is that what's real life? Because I see people on social media. I see people on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I see Aaron Parnas reporting the truth and reporting facts. And then I turn over to CNN and they got some dipshit like Scott Jennings who shouldn't even have a job there. It's ridiculous they even platform this dude. You couldn't do what he does anywhere else. It's one of the only things where you can become a talking head on one of these networks, whether it's Fox, CNN, any of them. You can become a talking head and you can sit there and spew absolute bullshit with no fact checking whatsoever. Nothing. They don't do anything about it. Not a thing. And you're considered like an expert in your field. And it's bullshit. Scott Jennings is a talking head. He is a propaganda whore. It's all he is. And I'm kind of jumping around the show. I had my notes here to talk about him last, but we kind of moved on into it. They're talking about who's going to be the next press secretary because old Caroline Leavitt is no longer going to be it. And I think it's hilarious the way that she went about tapping out and leaving because, see, Trump stuck her on the decoy. I think Stephen Miller was on there too, Marco Rubio, maybe Pete Hegseth. And old Caroline Leavitt was stuck on the decoy plane because Trump said that one was in danger. So he put all them on that one, and he took 35-year-old Natalie Harp, and they got in a catering truck and got out of Dodge like Better Call Saul episode. That's basically what happened. Right after that, Caroline Leavitt came out and said, well, I'm, going to go off and raise my kid now. The timing of that is really suspect. And now they're trying to figure out who's going to be the new propaganda whore. And some people have actually said it might be Natalie Harp. I did see that posted at a couple of places. Don't know how true it is. But one of the top contenders for that job is none other than Scott Jennings, the CNN propaganda whore, who sits there and lies his ass off and can't take it if Adam Mockler does this next to him. He cries and says, you're putting your hand in my face. These people just go out there and they lie their asses off. With nothing. No one ever comes down and brings the truth and says, nope, that's not real. But if you were at your job and you spewed some bullshit, you would get called out, rode up, and probably walked to the time clock and sent down the road. I remember like at one of the jobs I worked at, I put like surgical kits into boxes. My job was to stand at the end of this chute, and as these kits came down, I would just grab them like this and stick them in a box. And if the box called for 4 kits per box, it would tell you like which ones. Like, okay, this kit here is going to have 5. Only 5 will fit in this box, or maybe 12 will fit in it, depending on what size they are, and depending on how big the box is. So, if you didn't fill that box exactly the way it was supposed to be filled, you would get called out on it. You get called to the office. You would get asked why was one missing, especially pissed off if one was missing. But you would even get in trouble if there was one too many. And it would be easy sometimes, especially on the ones that were smaller where you're trying to count 10 or 12. It's easy to miscount or easy maybe to add 2 more or 1 more or whatever. Sometimes those are easy mistakes to make. But I can't count the times I had to stand there and be raked over the coals over something like that. And then it's one of those things where you did it so many days ago that you don't even remember because it's just all the same shit. You don't even remember which one it was that you fucked up. But you're standing there giving an account for something like that, but then you turn on CNN and watch Scott Jennings just sit there and lie his ass off. And he can lie his ass off and get away with it. Meanwhile, if you tried that, if you said, I didn't do that, yeah, you did. Tough shit. You would have to own it. In every other walk of life, you have to own it. When I was playing music at the dive bars, if you fucked up and butchered a song, someone would tell you you butchered it. If you butchered it bad enough, you never got to play there again. That's how the real world works. The real world, if you fuck up, you pay the consequences. But in Donald Trump's world, the people he picks to be around him, and himself included, can just do any damn thing they want to, say anything they want to, and then get called a journalist or a commentator. No, Scott Jennings is like a WWE guy. He is a phony. He is full of shit. And that's actually an insult to the WWE to say that, because those guys at least have some talent. Scott Jennings is a talentless hack who is just going to spew whatever propaganda he's told. And now that's the guy that is one of the top picks to possibly be the press secretary. Which, to tell you the truth, if it gets him off CNN, I would kind of be for that, really, to not have to see him there. But it's one of those things, like I've said so many times, whenever they replace somebody, it's not like they're going to come in and replace them with someone better. There's calls right now for RFK Jr. to resign, which has pretty much been happening since before he even got in there. I was going, hell no, don't let that nut job nowhere near it. But there's people calling for him to resign. But hey, it's not like we're going to anybody. It's not like we're going to anybody any better. You know, if Jeffrey Dahmer was still alive, then I guarantee you he would be considered for that spot. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So I don't really get excited when they say, "Oh, Caroline Leavitt's leaving." It's like, oh well, it's not like we're going to get a voice of reason. It's not like we're going to get a decent human being. And if you look around at any of them, okay, yeah, we got rid of Pam Bondi. I thought she was horrible. I thought she was as low as it gets. And I said one time here on the channel during one of my lives, probably said it on one of my videos too, I would literally pay a monthly subscription. I'm not making this up. This is how awful that Trump has become that makes me think awful shit like this. I would pay a monthly subscription to watch someone like Pam Bondi or Kristi Noem. I would pay a monthly subscription to watch them be in one of the worst prisons in America. And you just had a camera inside their cell, and there was one toilet in the middle of the floor, no sink, no shower, nothing, just a hole in the middle of the floor for to piss and shit in. I would love to just sit there and watch that, and watch her walk back and forth to the cafeteria amongst some of the most cutthroat people they could put her in with. I'd literally pay to see it because they're that horrible of people, and they ruined so many people's lives that I would get joy out of watching something like that. But what did we get? We got Todd Blanche. We got Markwayne Mullin. It's like we never get anybody that's ever going to be any better. It's not like all of a sudden people's going to go, oh, finally we're going to get a decent person in there. We're not. Because Trump's going to pick them, and he only picks trash. So that's what we're up against. So if you're just tuning in, I'm really hoping like hell that I'm not getting sick. I just think I've got some allergies going on. So I was sitting in line to get my kid at school. I'm just sitting there. I was listening to Wilson Pickett's album, Hey Jude, the whole album all the way through. I was down near the end of it, and all of a sudden my nose starts running. I'm like, fuck. And my head starts hurting, and I'm like, damn it. It's one of those things where you keep trying to shake it off and maybe just like talk yourself out of it. Hopefully, I will completely talk myself out of it and be in good shape come Saturday, because Saturday I'm going to be speaking at an event in Knoxville. I'm going to bring it up here on the screen and show y'all what it is and let y'all know what it is that we're doing. I'm going to be going door knocking again with Michaela Barnett. But before I do that, I'm going to be speaking at this event that's going to be taking place in Knoxville. So let me see if I can bring that up for you. I'm really looking forward to this too, folks. So this is called Put Hope to Work. And if you're in the Knoxville area, I will be here at this event. It's going to be this Saturday, August the 22nd, at the Hay Bear Cafe. That's out on Middlebrook Pike, by the way, for those of you familiar with the area. It's going to last from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. There will be volunteers, live music, tie-dye, you can't go wrong with that, kids, pets, merch, and treats. So the location is 9036 Middlebrook Pike. I used to live on Middlebrook Pike when I lived in Knoxville. This actually, I could have walked to this. If I still was living in Knoxville where I lived, I could literally just walk to this event. So this is what it's about. Let's keep the momentum going after the August election. Join us to put hope to work on Saturday, August 22nd at the Hay Bear Cafe from 11 to 3 p.m. We will be setting up outreach stations for relational organizing, postcarding, and canvassing so you can find the best fit for your skills and schedule. The first 25 people to get their choice of a yard sign or bumper sticker. The first 25 people get their choice of a yard sign or bumper sticker. We'll have screen printed tie-dyed shirts, live music, voter registration, and a chance to get a free t-shirt. Our team will walk you through each opportunity and get you started reaching out to your notebook or signed up for an upcoming canvassing or phone banking shift. Bring a device, bring a friend, and your excitement for flipping the longest held Republican district in the country. We will be collecting donations for back to school supplies drive for our local educators heading back to school. We're compiling needs from local organizers and teachers' wish list. If you have new or gently used crayons, pencils, notebooks, erasers, or office supplies, you can donate them on Thursday, and we will be distributing the items around the district District 2 in the coming weeks. So again, folks, if you just tuned in and was like, what the hell is he reading? I will be at this event. I'm going to speak and kind of open up and toss it over to Michaela Barnett. She's running for Congress here in District 2 up against Tim Burchett. But this event will take place this Saturday, August 22nd at the Haybar Cafe from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. So be sure to come out for it, turn out for it. Live music, tie-dye, kids, pets, merch, treats. There'll be all kinds of good stuff there. Plus, after it's all said and done, we're going to go do some more door knocking. And I've had a lot of people ask me what that experience was like the last time I went, because anytime someone says something like that in East Tennessee, you automatically say to yourself, well, man, what kind of doors did y'all walk up on? Because, we have a reputation, obviously, for being red as hell. But there's a lot of like-minded people here, and they're not just Democratic or progressive. We went door knocking to moderate Republican doors, and what we discovered was that so many of the moderate Republicans are just as fed up with Tim Burchett and fed up with Donald Trump as the rest of us. And so Michaela Barnett is first of all, I just want to say she's a great person right out of the gate, and you can tell that she's relatable. She's a scientist. She's a small business owner. She's someone who cares about the community, and she's someone who's smart and well-spoken. And Tim Burchett is a guy who decided to do his best Dollar General Donald Trump impression. And that's kind of an insult to Dollar General when I say that, because I shop there a lot. But I'm just saying, he's a guy who decided to try those quirky one-liners. He likes to go on podcasts and talk a bunch of shit. But I wasn't there for this particular one, but Michaela was telling me a story about how when she was door knocking one day, one guy said to her, well, you know what? I know that Tim ain't done anything for us. I know he's bad, but I just don't think I could bring myself to vote for a Democrat, which is something a lot of people says around here. And Michaela said, well, okay, well, can you tell me one policy? Can you tell me one thing Tim Burchett did for you? What was it? And the guy couldn't tell her. He had to actually say to her, well, honestly, I couldn't tell you one thing he's done to help us. Well, here's the thing. When you turn on these commercials here in Tennessee, and they're the same thing in Texas, you'll see these red states, and it'll be like, we're going to fight back against the Democrats. We're going to stop the Democrats from blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, hey, the Democrats ain't in charge here. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? This is a red state. We've been red for a long damn time, and they're going to bring change. What change is Tim Burchett going to bring? What change would Marsha Blackburn bring as governor? It's not going to be any change. It's just going to be more of the same. And they're out here making these ads that says, we're going to continue Donald Trump's golden age, and no one's feeling it. So yeah, Tim Burchett, if you want somebody who goes on a podcast, makes some little one-liners and says, dadgummit, every few minutes, then he's your guy. Absolutely. But he's never done a damn thing for you, completely lost sight of where he was, completely lost sight of the people of East Tennessee, and hasn't done anything. So this district that I'm sitting in is District 2. It is the longest held Republican district in the country. That's where Tennessee Brando lives, in the longest held Republican district. And you want to guess what year it was? Do you want to guess the last time that this place was held by a Democrat? I'll give you a minute. Does someone know in the comment section? I'll go ahead and tell you. For those of you that are trying to guess, if you're guessing, when I guess, because Michaela put this question to me, and I was watching her speak at an event here in town, and she put the question right to the crowd and said, hey, when is the last time that a Democrat held this? And I was like, well, damn, I don't even know the answer to that. But in my mind, I was going, well, maybe like the 1960s, maybe like during Kennedy's era, maybe, or like maybe, I don't know, maybe during FDR's era is what I was thinking. She's like, well, how many of you are thinking the 60s? And a couple of people like me. And she's like, you're right, it was. But it was the 1860s. It was 1867 is the last time a Democrat held District 2. And by the way, that would have been the wrong kind of Democrat before the party switched. So, yeah, we've been blood red here for a long, long damn time. And I do believe Michaela Barnett is the one that can sneak in here and upset it, because I think you're going to see upsets in Tennessee. I think you really could. I know people say, oh, man, Tennessee's a long shot. It's never going to happen. Listen, get rid of the defeatist mentality. As long as you think that way, it's always going to be that way. I'm going to say what I'm saying to lead into another part of this live stream I was going to do. As long as you keep that defeatist mentality, you're going to stay right there. And as long as you keep voting for the same old shit that's drug us down for years, you're going to stay right there. But more and more people are waking up to this, not just the people that I've talked to knocking doors. and not just the moderate Republicans around here, but where I was going with the next segment, right outside as you're headed out of Knoxville, there was a damn Trump store, been there for years, right on the side of the interstate. Sticks out like a sore thumb. Anytime someone visits that ain't from here and I have to drive them by it, I'm always like embarrassed. I'm always like, oh God, here it comes. Here's the Trump store. That thing's going out of business. And when the employees was asked why, they said because no one shops here anymore. No one's buying anything anymore. And that's right here in Blood Red, East Tennessee. I mean, I'm just saying, I don't want to compare Donald Trump to anyone great, but I'm just saying, if Leonard Skinner ain't selling merch in Jacksonville, something's wrong. You know what I'm saying? It's like if the Beatles ain't selling records in London, England, there's something bad wrong. So if Donald Trump can't sell his shit in East Tennessee, yeah, it's looking pretty rough for him. And a lot of those stores are closing down. I used to play at a place in Gatlinburg. There was one down there too on the strip. And I played in this place and I was kind of setting up like it wouldn't, well, I guess it kind of was like on the second floor, but it's kind of hard to explain. So I'm looking down at the people. My back was right against the window and I'm looking down at people, walking by on the sidewalk. And right behind my head, I told my son one time, he was filming. I said, well, if you're going to film, sit over here because if you film from that angle, you can see the sign of the damn Trump store behind me. And back in those days, this was like in his first term. I ain't played there since, but this was probably like 18, somewhere through there, 19. There's people walking in and out of that store constantly, just coming out with bags of shit. And so now, the one there right on 40 as you're headed out of Knoxville, it's going out of business. So what I would like to see is not only that store go out of business, I would love to see Tim Burchett go out of business. I would love to see Marsha Blackburn go out of business. And I would love to see Republican politicians all across this state go out of business. Go back to the drawing board, do something else. I don't think Kane ever had a retirement match. So maybe that's what he should do. Just go on and just retire, which the Wyatt family left. I always thought the Wyatt family should have ended Kane, but that's just me. I actually saw Kane at an airport. Not to change the subject, but I did. I saw Glenn Jacobs at an airport. I've never. I mean, I have met him, but never. Like I've never met him as Tennessee Brando. I've just met him. Like I was at a show one time watching Shooter Jennings play music, and he was standing beside me the whole time. So I met him there, and I've shook his hand a time or two over the years because hell, he's just right here all the time. And the thing about him is, I will say this. I've heard from people that knows him and have known him for years. I've heard a lot of people say that he's a good dude. And he's done a lot for like East Tennessee's Children's Hospital and things like that. A very charitable kind of guy. But he's another one of those people that when Donald Trump came along, he just rolled with it. He just rolled right with it. And he's already in the WWE, so rolling with WWE Theater wasn't hard for him. But I'm sitting in an airport. It's kind of like this planes, trains, and automobiles moment, like John Candy and Steve Martin when he's like, I knew you. Yeah, you tried to take my cab. It was kind of like one of those moments. We're sitting there. I was looking at my phone, probably uploading reels before I get on a plane, and I'm just sitting like this right here, And all of a sudden I glance up, and he's sitting over from me, and we just look at each other for a minute, and he got up and moved. I don't know. I don't know if he recognized me. I don't know if that's what happened. That's kind of how it felt because he looks like this. He goes, and then just gets up and goes as far over on the other side of the room as he can get away from me. And I was like, one of two things happened. Number one, he thought, well, that's some wrestling fan that's fixing to come over here and talk to me. Or he looked over and went, that's that son of a bitch that's dragged me. And every other Tennessee Republican politician. And it was funny because we ended up being on the same plane and he was just sitting a few feet up from me. I was like, man, I mean, I will say this, he didn't ride first class, but I was, when I got on the plane, he got on before me and I was like, man, if I end up sitting beside this guy, we could have some killer reels if he would be willing to go along with it. But, yeah, my grandmother used to tell me on my dad's side, I had two grandmothers. They could not have been any different. They were completely night and day. One was like a very, well spoken, very reserved, just really, really down to earth and just a really good country lady. But she was very polite, very well spoken, had great manners. I always would say to me, if you can't say something good about someone, don't say nothing at all. So for that grandmother, I would say Glenn Jacobs as Kane on the WWE, that storyline with The Undertaker, yeah, that's one of the greatest storylines in wrestling history. I will give them that all day. I will never take that away from them. When he came out and attacked Undertaker for the first time, supposed to be his long lost brother. They're not brothers in real life. It's just in the script. But when he came down there, man, in that leather face, kind of Michael Myers red and black mask he had, and jerked the door off the cage and came in and blew the fire and tombstone the Undertaker, that was awesome. So I'll give him that all day. If he'd have stayed right there, I'd have never had a bad word to say about him. It's when he got into politics and went totally MAGA that made me go, oh, shit, what the hell? So for my grandmother on my dad's side that says, don't say anything. If you can't say anything nice about somebody, don't say nothing at all. For you, Mama, he was great as Kane in the WWE. Now, my other grandmother, Nana, who nicknamed me Brando, was completely opposite of the other grandmother. She was foul. She was like having Richard Pryor for a grandmother. I mean, she just was foul. You didn't know what was coming, no filter whatsoever. And it didn't matter what she'd say. She'd say to you, it didn't matter. So you never had to worry about her talking behind your back because you knew that if she said it to somebody, like I'd have people walk up like a cousin of mine, like, yeah, Nana said this about you. I'm like, yeah, I know. She already told me. She raked me over the coals. Yeah, she told me that. Or I would be like, well, she ain't told me yet, but I'm sure next time I see her, she'll lay into me. That's how she was. And she used to say, I don't give a damn if he's dead or not. He was a son of a bitch. Fuck him. I've got nothing good to say about him. He wasn't good when he was here. I'm not going to sit here and cry now that he's gone. So for that, Nana, I will say Glenn Jacobs as a politician is horrible. Is one of the worst. And so shouldn't be near any position of office anywhere. So there, that's me. You know, neither one of my grandmothers are here to watch this live stream. But if there's somewhere looking down, one of them's disappointed and the other one's like, yeah, give him hell, Brando. But, you know, it's sad watching these people do that. It's sad watching good people just adopt that rhetoric. And they're going to be stuck with it, folks. One of these days, they're going to be stuck with it. Trump will eventually be gone, one way or the other. He won't be here forever. And then the Glenn Jacobs of the world and the Tim Burchets of the world, they'll have to live with trying to act like they had nothing to do with it. That's where we're headed with it. So good on them, you know. I don't think we should ever let them live it down. I truly don't. But I want to thank y'all so much for being here with me. Again, I want to apologize that we wasn't able to stream on Facebook tonight. I don't know the reason. I sat down here, put it in the destination in my software, had it lined up, and then I looked up and saw that it wasn't there. It said it couldn't be added. So I went back and added it again. A few seconds later, boom, it's gone. Can't be added. It just kept happening over and over and over again. So I tried several times, and now that I'm in the stream, I can't add it while we're going live. I can't, like right now, it won't let me do it. So I wasn't able to get it over to Facebook tonight. But I do want to thank everybody who's watching over on YouTube. And thanks to everybody who's shared it over there and let people know that we're here. I do appreciate that. Also, real quick, I want to try to see if I can't figure out. I did it last week at one point. So let me see if I can do this. Here we go. Now, I can't, for whatever reason, I can't pull these up on the screen like I was used to be able to do on StreamYard. But I will go ahead and give a shout out to Standard Deviation became a new member. Subka Deb sent one Tennessee Brando membership. And also shout out to Raven, who said, just want to tell you from the eyes, the views, someone from Southeast Asia, no matter how dark America appears to be right now, as long as there are Americans like you, there's hope. I really appreciate that. Thank you. And also shout out to Jeff Davis. He sent 10 Tennessee Brando memberships. So if you received one of those memberships, one of the perks of that is a lot of times I release the videos, you get them first. They'll be members only before they hit the mainstream. I also do some non-political content and post that there as well. So, and just other things, outtakes and things of that nature. So, want to thank everybody so much for being here and coming along on this crazy ride with me, man. It's been a hell of a ride every step of the way. But had one more thing I was going to talk about, and then we can wind the show down. But yeah, saw somebody mention a Hunter Biden interview. So I've been watching the one he did with Luke Beasley. It was pretty damn funny. That was some funny shit right there. I don't know which ones y'all were talking about. The comments are going by really fast. But he's been making the rounds. I would love to talk with him. But I have zero luck reaching out to somebody. And the thing is, like, I get like nothing but phony bullshit in my inboxes. Like it's just it's the same. It's the same pitch. Like I've been invited on every podcast under the sun, but it's the same exact pitch, and it's a scam because it'll say, "Hey, Tennessee Brando, we have been following your content, and we feel that you would engage great with blah blah blah. And for a guest spot, we will give you $4,000 if you will enter your banking information right here." It's one of those things. Oh, Ric Flair got scammed that way. I don't know how the hell it happened to Ric Flair, but it did. Apparently, he's been on Joe Rogan before, but apparently he got an invite from what he thought was Joe Rogan, and he gave him his banking information, and they wiped him clean. So I get a bunch of shit like that, and then when I reach out to people, I get crickets. So I just say fuck it. If I bump into somebody, I do. If I don't, I'm not. I've never been the type to like to sit and annoy someone, and it's like I'll reach out. Hey, love to talk to you. If they come back, they're on the show. If they don't, well, okay, it's fine with me. But anyway, one thing I did want to talk about before we got rolling, or before we leads into the last part of the show, was this whole ridiculous. I don't know if you saw it or not, but this ridiculous Darlene Graham, Senate debate where she just completely bombed, fell flat on her face. To ask her a question about China and Taiwan, and she couldn't even answer it. She actually said, "Well, I don't know anything about foreign policy. I got to be honest. I don't know nothing about it." Well, there was a while back that AOC stumbled on a question, and Fox News spent days, weeks. They're still talking about AOC dropping the ball on a question. But they've been going out of their way to go to bat for Darlene Graham, Lindsay's sister, who they just gave that spot to, by the way. That's sis, just let her have it. She got no experience at all, but hell, it's Trump and Republicans. They can do anything they want to. They can have a dead guy, as a senator in Kentucky. It's no big deal. But Fox News and all these MAGA Republicans will go out of their way to demonize the smartest person in the room while propping up the biggest idiot. And it's one of my biggest pet peeves about this whole thing is the fact that the more stuff like this happens, the more that confident people, or I should say that the smart people, starts losing their confidence. And they stop speaking up and speaking out because they just see stupid shit like this happening all the time. And when the stupid people see stupid shit like this happening, they go, "Oh boy, I got a spot," and they rush to the table. So, yeah, man, that was one of the most cringeworthy clips I've ever seen, was Darlene Graham just completely crashing and burning in that debate. But it don't matter. It doesn't matter. Again, going back to what I said about Scott Jennings, you can be a total fuck up in MAGA and you'll have a spot. Whereas if you're on the other side and you misspeak one time, I mean, when Tim Walz debated J.D. Vance, he stuttered on one question. I think it was about like the whole stolen valor thing where he misspoke and said that he was in a country that he wasn't in. And they rode him like crazy over that. And because he stuttered, they just kept going back to, "Oh, he stuttered. Oh, God, did you see that?" Meanwhile, I'll just go ahead and say it, and don't Google this when I do. But a Republican could go out and they could be G.G. Allen on stage. They could literally go out and just be G.G. Allen. For those of you who don't know, G.G. Allen was a punk rocker. G.G. Allen and the Murder Junkies. Really, to call him a punk rocker ain't even really fair because, I mean, it wasn't like basically he went out on stage, stripped down naked, took shits, rubbed it on himself, threw it into the crowd, shoved microphones up his asses, jumped out in the crowd and hit people. He was nuts. He was absolutely insane. There's a documentary called Hated, the G.G. Allen story. Don't watch it. But if you do, don't blame me. If curiosity kills the cat, just don't come back on me on this one, okay? But I'm just saying, MAGA could do that. They could absolutely. You watch that. If you know what I'm talking about, if you've seen G.G. Allen, you know I'm not lying. MAGA could be G.G. Allen on stage, and they would go for it. Everybody would say, "That's all right, man." Preachers right here would be talking about how godly it was. Jumping the shark is not even the start of it. They've done more than just jump the shark. They have went completely batshit insane. And now anybody, literally anybody's brother, sister, gardener. I'm surprised like Mitch McConnell's gardener hasn't took over. Wouldn't surprise me a bit. If you're kin to Mitch McConnell, I mean, hey, if you're kin to Mitch McConnell and you're kind of like-minded, like if he's your distant cousin or something, just call Trump up. "I'm his cousin. I trimmed his tree once. Let me have a shot at it." God almighty. But I think this is the perfect ending for Mitch. I really do. I think this is the absolute perfect ending for Mitch. because he was absolutely one of the dirtiest players in the game his entire life. And he couldn't even die without being dirty. I mean, he couldn't even die without being the dirtiest. Well, he couldn't even, I mean, think about it. A lot of times, even in the movies, like the bad guy has a change, he kind of has a change of heart on his deathbed. But Mitch was the dirtiest player in the game all the way to the other side, man. He never let up being dirty. He couldn't even die. He couldn't even die with peace or dignity or nothing. He had to absolutely go out just being the weasel that he was every step of the way, man. And I said something one time. My dad got mad at me. It's pretty funny. I had to really clarify what I meant. I said that Mitch was a great politician. And my dad just ripped into me. Whoa, wait, no, he ain't nothing good about him. I was like, whoa, wait, listen. I'm not saying he was good at what he did, or that I'm not saying he did good for the state of Kentucky or good for the United States of America. I'm just saying that as a politician, he knew how to play the game dirtier than anybody. I mean, I'm sure Dick Cheney sat back taking notes from him. I mean, and Nixon was probably over here rolling over in his grave like, damn, why couldn't I pull that shit off? Mitch McConnell was one of the dirtiest players and was good at it. He was good at being dirty. I'm not saying he was a great politician, meaning he did great things. You can be a great politician and do horrible things. And he was one of them. And the guy can't even die without being a scumbag. I mean, it's like you would think that, and going back to my grandmother's one saying, don't say anything, just say something nice, and the other one saying, tell the truth. It's like, I get so annoyed at the Democrats who come out and like speaks highly of Lindsey Graham when he's gone. It's like, I'm not saying that you have to go out there and just roast him, okay? Although I would probably enjoy it if you did. I'm not saying that that's what you have to do. All I'm saying is, I hate when this happens. Like, Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell, whoever it is, a Democrat will come out and be like, well, I may not have agreed with him, but he was a fighter. And one time back in the 90s, I went to order a snow cone and he paid for it. He was the greatest guy ever. It's like, no, he wasn't. Don't say that. Just because he agreed with you one time, or the one time he told Cory Booker, you're a good politician. Oh, I love you, Lindsey. Screw you, Lindsey. You were terrible. It's ridiculous. Like, I can't stand that shit. And you know what's going to happen? I hate to tell you this, but just remember I said it on August the 20th at 9:43 p.m. Eastern. Tennessee Brando warned you that when Donald Trump finally does, Poppy's last double quarter pounder, when he finally does, there'll be Democrats. Well, our heart goes out to the family, which is okay if you want to say that. Just leave it right there. Just say, which mine won't, but I'm just saying, just leave it right there. But they won't. They will not. I promise you. I'll tell you what, he was a fighter that wouldn't back down, man. He would not back down. But one time he pointed at me and gave me a thumbs up on the way to the toilet. And I think he was, it's a sad day for America. Meanwhile, I'll be on my back porch I ain't drunk a beer in forever, but I will be drinking that day. I'll have the music cranked up. Everybody around will know what happened because I don't make a lot of noise, but you'll know when it finally does. And I won't wish none of them well. I really won't. I know this is going to sound cold-hearted. No, I won't wish none of them well because I think the entire family is going to be something we're going to be contending with for the rest of our lives. I don't think they'll go away. I think they saw him grift and they're going to continue to try to grift. But when I saw them, sitting there glazing Lindsey Graham, I'm like, man, really? And they'll do it for Mitch, and they'll do it for Trump. Just remember I said it. The Cory Bookers of the world will come out. Well, Trump was definitely a fighter. I have to say, on January 6th, he would not back down for a minute. That drives me nuts, man. It's like, it's hypocritical. And I think that's what my grandmother was getting at back when she used to tell me, like, don't say something, don't sit there and say something good about somebody now. You wouldn't say something about him 5 minutes ago. Why? You wouldn't say nothing about him. Don't say nothing. Man. And it's not about politics either. If it was about politics, yeah, like when John McCain died, I could say, rest easy, John McCain. I could even say rest easy to Dick Cheney. That's saying something. There's no way in the world you could say that to Trump in my mind. It's just like, or Lindsey Graham's people. It's like, man, come on. Because we're not having the same political discussions we were having before. It's not the same. And I wish people could understand that. I'm not losing friends over politics. I won't unfriend you if you have a different idea about how we should go about, raising the minimum wage or not raising it. I'm not going to unfriend you if you have a different idea of, how much the rich should be taxed or who should pay for the health care. But if you think the white race is superior and you go around spreading a bunch of hateful bullshit out into the world and being a over the top, you know, racist bastard, then I got nothing for you, and I'm never going to. And it's not about politics. And even in the Bible, Jesus says if you say your words to them, if they don't hear what you've got to say, shake your dust off your feet when you leave their house. Just let them be. I'm not a Bible believer, but for those of you that are, that's what it says. You just shake the dust off your feet. Don't even acknowledge them anymore. So that's just the way that I see it. I could be wrong, but yeah, like I'm not going to sit here and like I said, I'm not going to sit here and just like roast a Lindsey Graham, but I'm not going to sit here at the same time now and be like, well, now we got to say something. He was a terrible person who did terrible things to people. You know, we don't celebrate that. I mean, I don't remember anyone really celebrating John Wayne Gacy. So why would we? Why would we? Really, I put these politicians to me. These MAGA politicians are worse than John Wayne Gacy or Ted Bundy or Charles Manson. They're even worse to me. So I don't know. But yeah, I was going to go back here to this post I made because it's getting to that point where we're going to have to cleanse our palates. We've talked about so much shit that we're going to have to find something else to talk about. So what we've been doing in the last 10, 15 minutes of the live streams here, the last couple of weeks, and it's been going over pretty good, so we're going to keep doing it. What we've been doing is we've just been changing the subject at the end of it. Once we get done talking about the politics, talking about Trump, talking about everything going on in the world, then we just shift over and we change the subject. We may talk last week. I showed y'all some records that I got. We talked music for a while. We talked about our favorite sandwiches. And then someone in the comment section said, yeah, we're cleansing our palate. And I thought, yeah, you definitely have to do that because talking about Donald Trump leaves such a terrible taste in your mouth that you absolutely do need to cleanse your palate. So that's what we're going to do. And I made a post over here on the community post on YouTube asking the listeners to tell me some things they would like to hear us talk about when we was winding down. So I'm literally just going to scroll and grab a few, and then I'll grab some from the live comments here as well. But someone here, KA, it's just a bunch of letters, KAOD5MW, says movies, favorite genres, best of the best soundtracks. So what would be my favorite genre of movies? I mean, I just like a good. I'm not a horror fan. I got to be honest with you. I'm not a big horror fan, and I'm not really a big action fan. Although I will watch one here and there. I just like a good drama or a good comedy. My favorite movies, like my favorite style of movie is like Sling Blade. That's my all-time favorite movie, Sling Blade with Billy Bob Thornton. Say that 5 times real fast. Sling Blade is my all-time favorite movie, followed probably by something like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Shawshank Redemption, Forrest Gump, Goodfellas, a movie called Crystal that was had Ray McKinnon and Billy Bob Thornton in it. It was written by Ray McKinnon. I'm a huge Ray McKinnon fan. If you've never watched any of his movies, go find them. I like stuff like that, and I love a good comedy. But I'm not too big into horror. And as far as soundtracks goes, I'll tell you some of my favorite soundtracks. So, to me, my favorite soundtrack is Forrest Gump. I seen someone else the other day shared a like best soundtracks, and they mentioned 10 of them and didn't mention Forrest Gump. And I don't know how that's possible because I thought that Forrest Gump had a damn good soundtrack. Also, The Devil's Rejects. By Rob Zombie, that had a hell of a soundtrack. And that introduced me to some really good music. That movie introduced me to some really good music. That movie introduced me to the music of a guy named Terry Reid. Um, they had the song on there called Seat of Memory and To Be Treated Right. And I found out later that Terry Reid was actually considered to be the lead singer of Led Zeppelin, that Jimmy Page actually considered him and I think talked to him first And I don't remember why he passed on the gig or how it went about happening. He didn't take the job, and then Robert Plant got it. But Terry Reid, it's spelled Terryreid. Man, he has got a hell of a voice, and I discovered it on that. I discovered it on the Devil's Rejects movie and soundtrack. Um, I just thought it was a hellacious soundtrack. Star Wars. Someone mentioned Star Wars. That's good. Someone says they love Billy Bob too. Yeah, he was good in Bad Santa. He absolutely was. Yeah, I love Billy Bob Thornton. He's in my Mount Rushmore of actors for sure. I love Billy Bob Thornton because he's one of the only people that actually captures the South the way it should be captured. There's a lot of people that gets our accent wrong when they try, and there's a lot of people that gets our dialogue and just the way we go about speaking. They get it so wrong. Billy Bob's one of the few, like Billy Bob, Ray McKinnon, Walton Goggins, guys like that. They nail the Southern accent perfectly. And sometimes I have to say that sometimes British people do better. No offense if you're from the North or from out West, but I just think that like Northerners and people from out West that does the Southern accent, I almost feel like they're doing it based on how they've seen other actors do it, and not like the true dialect. Whereas the Brits and I mean, there's a guy Damon Harriman that played on Justified. Um, he played the Dewey Crow character on Justified. He played like he was from Corbin, Kentucky on the show, and he actually fooled me. I mean, he did. I was like, damn. I was like, that dude, look, he dug right out of Woodbine. There's a community of Corbin called Woodbine, and I was like, man, he looks like he was dug out of there. Sounded it, and then I found out he was from Australia. So there was also a girl. I can't remember her real name, but she was on the show Rectify. She nailed the Southern accent, but she was British. But I'm very picky about that. I hate when someone bastardizes our language, and Billy Bob Thornton don't because he's from here, and Walton Goggins don't because he's from here. And those are my favorites: Walton Goggins, Billy Bob Thornton, Ray McKinnon. Uh, that's my type of that's the type of Southerner I want to see on the screen, not someone from somewhere else pretending like they're from here. It really annoys me. Like it's one of my biggest pet peeves on this planet. So anyway, we'll keep moving for a minute and find some more here on the community post. Then I'm going to jump in these live comments as well. But all right, let's see. Yeah, someone else said movies. I could talk movies the rest of the night. That wouldn't be hard. Uh, oh, someone told me next time I go to that hot dog stand, film it. It sounded so good. I was talking about Conley's Drive-In in Middlesboro, Kentucky. It is good. Um, I've been eating healthier here lately. I've been eating chicken and rice every day, but if I'm going to cheat, I'll do it with the Conley's footlong hot dog. That thing is badass, man. And it ain't like that one more is going to do me in after the way I lived. Um, Someone says, "What cars do you drive?" I drive a 1973 Jensen Healy. That's cool. I love the old, and that's going to sound funny, but I'm a big fan of the Crown Vic, the Ford Crown Vic. I know it's a police cruiser, but I love Crown Vics and Mercury Grand Marquis. I love those old type of cars like that. Looks like I'm either, if you looked at my yard, you'd think a detective and a cop lived here. And maybe that's for the best. Maybe it's best that people just thinks that. But I seen this one comment a while ago. Okay, this is a good one. Other YouTube channels that you follow for news and pleasure. So I follow basically all the. I'm sure as far as content creators and people that does what we do, I'm sure I follow the same ones you all do. Obviously, Midas Touch, I'm part of that. I follow. I watch Ben Mycelis every day, Aaron Parnas every day, Brian Tyler Cohen, David Packman, Luke Beasley, Adam Mockler, and then people like Texas Paul. Now, if I start naming them, I'm going to feel bad because they're my friends, but Texas Paul, Coach D, Tom Powell Jr., Superman Todd. I really like on TikTok. There's a girl named Straight Out of Salem. She's one of my favorites these days. Uh, God, there's just so many. Cricket, Boston Smalls, Hawk. Um, there's so many that I watched as far as doing what we do. Um, but then as far as watching other things for watching content or YouTube channels, um, I love wrestling. So I'll watch Jim Cornette I'll listen to him. He doesn't actually put video content out. It's just a thumbnail with him talking. His is audio only, but I love it. So I listen to Cornette's Drive Through every day. I also there's a page called Rockabye Records. It's spelled ROCKA and then BUY, like you buy something. Rockabye Records out of England. I really love that. Um, they got a great page, and I really love following them. Trying to think, that kind of put me on the spot as far as other things. Because there's a lot of stuff I follow that I don't know the name of, and I do follow a lot of stupid stuff that I admit stupid, but I have to watch something to cleanse my palate. There's this one where this guy, and I swear it looks like he's in Jamaica or somewhere like that. I'm not exactly sure where he's at, but he sits at a table eating and turns around and squirts the person behind him with a water gun, and then turns back around, and the person does this, and they look around, and then if they start walking toward him, he'll go like this, and then he'll start rubbing his, and he'll get up and act like that someone squirted him. It's funnier than shit. I watch that all the time. Like when I see that dude, I just sit and scroll through those videos and roll laughing. I watch stuff like that. I watch like that and what's the other one? Oh man, I was trying to think of that other guy I watch, but I watch stuff like that, like someone crashing and burning on a skateboard or something. Um, but man, what was it? And I watch a lot of people that talk about bodybuilding. The sober, I can't think. I never can remember his name. He's a big muscular dude with tattoos on Instagram. I follow him for nutrition, and there's a guy named Dennis on TikTok that that I follow that talks about fitness and stuff like that. So just different things. But that's some of the YouTube stuff that I watch. Rockabye Records is great. Um, and there's a guy named Schnazi that talks about music. I really like watching him. I think he's on YouTube, but I mainly see him on TikTok. Uh, let's see what else. Uh, I did see here I found it. This is from Deanna. I saw this comment earlier today. I thought, man, I really want to talk about this one. Nostalgic dishes from mom, grandma, dad, etc. That's a great thing to talk about. So I did because I've already talked about my grandmothers in this live. So this would be perfect. So my grandma on my dad's side was like just a masterful cook. Um, every minister in town and the surrounding area ate at her house at some point, and she made chicken and dumplings like no one else. That's the best food I ever put in my mouth. Period. Was her chicken and dumplings. There's nothing ever topped it. But on the other side, my grandmother on the opposite side of the family, she made them too, and they just never were as good. And remember, my nana was the blunt, truthful one that made me tell the truth. So she used to eat my other mama's dumplings. Go, dang, I can't get mine to taste like this. How do you do it? No matter how many times. Well, my mama, first of all, my mama was never really going to tell her. She was never going to give her the secret. There's no way, but she would try to kind of. And then she later, my nana, like, she didn't tell me everything she did. There's still something missing. Um, but what's funny is, so my nana would make me dumplings, and then she would always say, "Are they as good as your mama's?" And I'd be like, "Well, no one's as good as that. I mean, that's impossible." The last batch that my nana ever made was like right there next to it, if not better. And I said, I looked at her, and she didn't ask me this time. And I said, "What'd you do different?" And she said, "Nothing. I did the same thing I always do." I said, "Well, you know what?" I said, "These here are every bit as good, if not better, than Mama's." She's like, "Are you kidding me? Are you serious? Did I finally do it?" I said, "Yeah, you finally did it." The funny thing is, I don't know how this happened, but I ended up getting the last Kittle that both of them made. I don't. They both made a last Kittle, and I got it. On my dad's side, one of my cousins that liked them as good as me, she made one for me and one for her, and called us and told us to come get it. That's the last time she ever made them. And then my nana did. I got my nana's last bowl too. But chicken and dumplings is a massive nostalgic dish in my family. Now my dad makes this meal gravy that you eat with like gravy and biscuits, but it's made out of meal and it's like it's brown, and if I can get my dad to do it, he nails it better than any place. Like there's a truck stop in London, Kentucky that makes it that's close, but it ain't as good as my dad's. Um, he nails that gravy to the wall, but you can't get him to make it very often. He doesn't really feel like it or want to, and he has to be in the right mood. Like if you walk in though and catch him making it, you better stick around because it's going to be damn good. And then I'll take one more from this, and then we'll jump over to the live. Um, someone said your favorite pre '90s sitcoms. Um, that's a great question. To tell you the truth, my favorite sitcoms are pre-90s. I was a kid of the 80s who grew up with two boomer parents watching shows from the 60s and 70s, and I loved it and never protested it. Folks, I can honestly say to you, I have never watched an episode of Friends from start to finish in my life. I've walked in the room and it's been on, and I've never watched Seinfeld in my life. I've seen it on the TV, like in passing, but I never watched. The only '90s sitcom I watched was like if the Wonder Years made it into the '90s, I watched that, and I watched Urkel, Family Matters, and Perfect Strangers, which was what Family Matters spun off of. I watched that, and Step by Step because that was when Suzanne Summers was in her prime. But now pre '90s sitcoms, Sanford and Son, Andy Griffith Show, and MASH. I think MASH is one of the greatest shows. Period. Not just sick. I mean, I don't know if I guess that would fall into the heading of a sitcom. It wasn't done in front of a live audience, which neither was Andy Griffith. They had the laugh track. But Andy Griffith, I've watched it so much here in the South that I could watch Andy Griffith with the volume down and I know what they're saying. Same goes for Sanford and Son. All in the Family was a big favorite of mine. Dragnet. I love Dragnet, man. There's something about it. I don't know. Like it's so like it's just so corny now. Like when you watch it, marijuana is the flame, heroin is the fuse, LSD is the bomb. I don't know. I absolutely. This is the city, Los Angeles, California. My name's Friday. I carry a badge. I could watch that all day, man. I never get tired of it. And so, I don't know if y'all saw the episode where the guy freaked out on. I don't even think. I think he was on acid. He freaked out. He's like out in California and like painted a bunch of shit on the wall, and then he runs into the wall and like tears pour down the wall. It's one of the craziest things ever. I used to think that if you did drugs, that's what would happen. Like, and there's one where a guy absolutely freaks out. He's losing his mind, and Bill Gannon, who's also Colonel Potter on MASH, he looks over at Jack Webb, Joe Friday. He looks over at him. He's like, "What's going on here, Joe?" And he's like, "Marijuana." So the first time I ever smoked marijuana, I thought I was going to lose my mind like that dude on Dragnet, and then I just sat there and laughed my ass off in a graveyard, and then went home, ate a bunch of Doritos. So anyway, yeah, y'all had some really good stuff to talk about in the community post I made, and I can always circle back to that and we can do videos. But now I'll hop into the live streams. I watched Columbo a lot with my grandmother. She used to watch. You go to my grandmother's. Well, actually, both of them. You could go to either one of them's house. They'd be watching in the heat of the night, or Murder She Wrote, Matlock. I love Matlock. I think Matlock's criminally underrated. No pun intended. A lot of people didn't like seeing Andy Griffith play anything other than Andy Taylor, but man, I loved him as Matlock. I thought it was great. I loved that show. So yeah, I Dream of Jeannie was a classic. Someone said my grandmother's baked beans were the best. It's funny how that your grandmother's is always the best. Everyone, we all think that. It's just funny how the grandmother always, and not to sound like Merle Haggard when I say this, but I'm not trying to come in here with "Are the good times really over?" Type of thing. But it's like I just think about the way that we go about eating today, and I'm like, what are kids going to say 20 or 30 years from now? My grandmother used to throw me a hot pocket in the microwave. You know what I mean? It's like the Dukes of Hazzard. Yeah, I wore that out as a kid. Night Stalker. Yes, I did. I'll tell you another criminally underrated show was Benson. I thought Benson was hilarious. One of my favorite episodes ever of any sitcom show was a Benson episode where the plumber came over. Benson was having a luau. He was going to have a luau later in the day, and the plumber came over and was going to fix a leak before the luau started, and the plumber died under his sink. It's one of the funniest damn things I've ever seen in my life. And so now Benson is stuck with this dude because the dude had no family. And they're like, well, what are you going to do? He died at your house. You going to bury him or not? And Benson's like, I don't know this guy. And the guy was a prick to Benson. Like when he would come to the governor's mansion, he was always a jerk to Benson. So finally, like, well, we gotta have him a funeral. And they have a funeral, and Benson gets up at the funeral to like, well, they bring a preacher out, and I've been in these type of situations. They bring a preacher out that starts kind of preaching the guy into heaven, like talking about what a great man he was, and Benson starts laughing, and the guy's like, well, you got something to say? And he said, yeah. He said, one time he told me that he appreciated a man that told the truth. He said, so I just think that we should tell the truth. And the guy said, okay, come on up here. And Benson walks up to the mic and he's like, We're gathered here today to honor a man who ruined my luau. I swear, the first time I ever watched that, I belly ached for 10 minutes. I had to back it up and rewind it because I was like, when he said that, when he hit that line, we're gathered here today to pardon the man who ruined my, or to honor the man that ruined my luau. God, that's one of the funniest things I ever watched in my life. And there's a Sid Caesar skit from back in the day called Uncle Goopy. That one made me laugh till I couldn't catch my breath. So they're doing a spoof of that. This Is Your Life, and there's Carl Reiner's in there and Sid Caesar, and so Sid Caesar's sitting in a chair, and then Carl Reiner, Rob Reiner's dad, is the host. And at one point, you hear a voice. He's like, hello, Al. You remember me? I used to encourage you. That's all he says. It's Howard Morris from Andy Griffith, who was Ernest T. Bass. And he just keeps going, you remember me? I used to encourage you. And then finally, it hits Sid Caesar, who he is, and they hug. And man, they come running at each other, hugging. And Ernest T. Bass like climbs him like a tree. And like it's one of that one and the luau line on Benson. And then another one, if we're talking about Mount Rushmore of like made me bust my gut laughing, was Don Knotts on Andy Griffith when he does the whole "We the People," like where he tries to remember the preamble to the Constitution, and like he sits down in front of Andy, he's like, "I knew that. I remembered that back at school. I know every word of it." And Andy's like, "Okay, go ahead." He's like, "Give me the first word," and Andy's like, "We," and then Don Knotts is like, "We." He's like, "We." And then he's like, "We what?" And he's like, "We thee." He's like, "We thee," and then it's like, "We thee," and then like, "We thee." He keeps going like, "We the people," and basically Andy feeds him the whole thing. And then at one point, Don Knotts like pulls his hair down in front of his face. That's one of my all-time favorite moments of just absolute gut laugh. And then there was one on Sanford and Son. I mean, Red Fox would say, "I'm gonna give you one across the lips" to everybody, and he said it so much that it eventually it wasn't funny because he just said it every episode. There was one in particular though where he said it to a guy whose real name was Burt Mustin. This dude had been like one of these character actors. He was in every 60s and 70s sitcom you could name. Always played an old man and was always like, "Huh?" He could never hear. So Fred Sanford ended up, Lamont put him in a nursing home. And he's mad because he's there. He wants to go back home, and Lamont puts him up to a nursing home. And he's in that nursing home with old Burt Mustin. I don't remember who was playing on there. But Fred's like really disgusted and pissed, and he wants to leave. And Burt Mustin walks by and is like, "Hi, how about a nice game of shuffleboard?" And Fred's like, "How about one across your lips?" And I don't know what it was. Out of all the times he said that, it was the fact he said it to that old dude that just hit me in my gut. It was one of the funniest damn things ever. Jim Neighbors singing, yes. There's the episode. Now, there's one episode where he sings and gets the part, and Barney don't get it. Like Barney's trying to sing, and then Jim Neighbors steals the show from him. Those were always great. Gomer Pyle USMC is criminally underrated, by the way. I've got tissue all over my face. I've been sitting there trying to my nose started running over today. My head's been throbbing. I'm hoping I'm not getting sick, but I've been sitting there trying to keep from wiping it on the back of my hand the entire show. But yeah, going back through the comments. Yeah, I think Don Knotts won was it 5? I think he won 5 in a row. I think he pretty much just took that home every time. Oh man, Carol Burnett, yes. I'm not gonna lie, I had a crush on her when I was a kid. To me, Carol Burnett's one of the funniest human beings ever lived. Wearing the curtain down the stairs, that was epic. Also, I loved her as Eunice on Mama's Family. That's one of my favorites ever. Was her as Eunice on Mama's Family. I always loved when she would start off she would get mad and slowly get mad, work up to being mad. That was always one of my favorite things. Floyd the Barber was awesome. I used to have a shirt back when I was in high school, and it was Floyd the Barber, but he was pink. It said Pink Floyd. I had that shirt back at school. So yeah. I love the older shows. I don't even know if sitcoms still exist. I Love Lucy's a classic. Hello from Pikeville. I ain't been there in a while, but I have been there. Benny Hill. Yeah. Yeah, Mama's Family was great. So I think it's on the Tubi app, which is free. I'm pretty sure. Well, the one I got is. I found some of the Sanford episodes. It was after Sanford and Son. It's like a spinoff, and Lamont ain't on it. Really the only person from it is Rollo. Um, and that's another thing I follow on all the platforms. There's a tribute page called Red G Fox. That dude puts out some really good stuff. The guy that played Hal Williams played Hoppy, the cop. He passed away just like a week ago or so. But I found the Sanford show that came on after Sanford and Son, and Rollo uh, lives next door to Fred, and a white guy moves in with Fred. And I think that's pretty much it. I think Rollo is the only person from the series that's still in it. Um, but it was actually pretty funny. I mean, I started. I had seen a couple episodes years and years ago, but couldn't remember them. And I started watching them. I watched 4 or 5 episodes of it, and it was actually pretty good. I mean, it's Red Fox. I mean, he's funny no matter what. I mean, he didn't have the great cast of characters like Aunt Esther and Lamont and Grady and all those people. Um, but I thought Rollo was great. Rollo was always one of my favorites, so they're great together no matter where they're at. Sanford and Sons. One time I lived in an apartment back probably like around 2009 or 10, somewhere through there. I lived in this apartment and I didn't have internet or cable, and I found the complete Sanford and Son on DVD. It was like a spool of DVDs in a box, and that's all I watched when I lived in that apartment was Sanford and Son, which I grew up on it. But yeah, man, I always liked. I loved Grady. I thought Grady was great, um, and I liked Bubba. But Julio was one of my favorites. I absolutely, man, when them two was on the screen together, I just thought the Julio and Fred Sanford back and forth over the goat was some of the funniest shit I ever seen in my life. And I to this day, like if I go to play pool, I say we're gonna shoot some pool because he's like, hey Lamont, we're gonna shoot some pool, and Fred's like, you hear that, Lamont? You and Julio's gonna shoot some pool. And then he's like, if you're gonna shoot some pool, you better go put on your new shoes. And then Julio's like, you got new shoes? And so I like, if I go buy new shoes, I'm always saying, hey, I'm gonna go buy some new shoes. Or I'm gonna go shoot some pool. I say that all the time, and it comes from Sanford's. I do that like with so many like movies and sitcoms. I'm always quoting them. And going back to what I said earlier about my favorite movie being Sling Blade, so there's the classic scene for those of you who ain't seen it. There's this scene where Dwight Yoakam's character, Dwight Yoakam, the country singer, is in it, playing Doyle Hargraves, the greatest asshole in movie history. And at one point, he snaps and throws a beer bottle through the window, and he starts cussing the band out that he's playing in. And there's this one part where he's like, "Go fucking practice, Randy." So, being a musician, those of us that watch Sling Blade, we have said that to each other. It's what we say. If it's time to practice, that's what you say to somebody. And so I had a friend of mine, his name was Randy, for real. So of course I said that to him all the time. He's a musician, guitar player. Of course I'm going to say that to him every time I see him. And he knew the movie, he knew the joke. So one night he walked into a gig I was playing. He wasn't playing. He had a night off, came to watch me. And I looked out in the crowd, I was like, hey, Randy's here. I was like, go fucking practice, Randy. Well, he got the joke, but a couple of people in the crowd didn't. And they were like, man, why was you a jerk to Randy? He's a great guy. Why'd you say that to him? And I was like, I was quoting Doyle Hargraves from Sling Blade. I love Randy. He knows I love him. It was a joke. I didn't mean it. But I'm always doing that. Like, there's so many lines that I say, like in the movie Stripes, at one point when it's right at the start of the movie, like when Bill Murray and Harold Ramis, when they first go to the army, and Bill Murray says something, and the guy says, "You think you're funny or whatever." And he's at one point he tells him to come up front, and you hear a voice in the background go, "Get your goat smelling ass over here." I say that to my kids all the time. It's like I say that line constantly. Have ever since that movie came out. But yeah, what was the show with JJ and Dynamite? That was Good Times. That was a great show. I loved Good Times. The thing about those shows, like, well, Good Times especially, Good Times would be funnier than hell. Like, it would just be an absolute gut buster. And then all of a sudden, they would have the most dead serious, heartbreaking thing you ever seen happen. Or just one of the most dark, like, holy shit moments. That show was great. It was very underrated because a lot of times, people would just see the highlight reel and think it was just comedy, but it wasn't. They got real serious at times on Good Times, and really made some really good points. You know what I mean? They had a way of bringing out of dealing with social issues in a way that brought them to the forefront. They used comedy to get there. But yeah, so I see people talking about the Golden Girls. I absolutely loved them. I love the Golden Girls. Gilligan's Island was a classic. I love those old shows like that. Maude was great. Oh, Maude was so good. Yeah, Monty Python. Yeah, absolutely. Life of Brian's one of my favorites. Blanche was always my favorite Golden Girl. Still is. Richard Pryor's on anyone's Mount Rushmore comedy for sure. Yeah, someone said I used to think Sling Blade was based on a real life story. You would think it was just because it was so damn good and so real to life, but I've heard Billy Bob say that it wasn't. Apparently, though, that he said that he used to work in a nursing home years ago, and he kind of took two characters. He said one guy was a white guy and one guy was a black guy. And I don't remember which way it went, but he said one of them was always rubbing his hands, and the other one was always saying, mm-hmm. And he just kind of combined those two things. So I think he definitely pulled from some real life. Designing Women, that's a show no one talks about. My mom used to watch that constantly. Oh, I do remember when Maud had an abortion. Yeah, I do remember that. Those like that's what I'm saying about those shows like that back in the day. I mean, on All in the Family, there was an episode where Edith was assaulted. That was horrible. That was one of my least favorite episodes they ever did. It was so bad. But those shows would do that. They would just all of a sudden come in with like something dark, and that's why I loved MASH so good, because MASH would be like it was kind of slapstick comedy, almost like Hogan's Heroes, which Alan Alda to me was always borrowing from Groucho Marx. But MASH would have some of the most dead serious shows ever. They would have like something funny happening over here on one side of the aisle and something dead serious happening in the same episode. And I think one of the most powerful episodes I've ever seen was where they tried to keep the troop, to keep the soldier alive so he wouldn't die on Christmas. That's one of the saddest ones I've ever seen in my life. That was hard to watch. But there's also the one where Colonel Potter is dealing with a soldier that's trying to commit suicide, and he keeps stopping him. Meanwhile, Hawkeye and BJ and Winchester's arguing because Hawkeye and BJ haven't took baths, and Winchester won't quit blowing his horn, and they're arguing over that. So there's like comedy happening over here and something dead serious happening over here. And there's that real powerful scene when all of a sudden Colonel Potter just reaches into his rope with this guy because the guy keeps tempting it, and Colonel Potter keeps trying to stop him. And finally, Colonel Potter's like, "Fine, you want to die? I'll help you." And he takes this gas mask and just gets him and tries to take him to the floor, and the guy starts fighting back. And Colonel Potter said, "See right there," he said, "the will to live will always it'll always outdo the will to die." And I just thought that was such a powerful moment. But then over here on the other side of the coin is something just gut busting funny happening at the same time. That's a lost art. That type of dark comedy like that is really, really a lost art. But it's sitting over here on my windowsill. I have a MASH 4077 plate that I found at a vendor's mall. It's one of my favorite things. Yeah, someone, the Vol Queen, thanks for being here and moderating for us. She talking about like these shows. Okay, like a show like All in the Family, you'll hear people say this today. They'll say, "Oh man, you people couldn't live back in my time, Archie Bunker. You'd be offended." Actually, it's the other way around. MAGA would be offended if Archie Bunker was being made today, not us. The progressive people wouldn't be offended by it. It would be the MAGAs of the world, because Carl O'Connor was a bleeding heart liberal, the guy playing Archie Bunker. And so was Rob Reiner playing Meathead. They were both liberals. And Norman Lear was like a socialist. So like Norman Lear's who created the show. There's a really good documentary. I can't think of the name of it. Maybe somebody knows it, but there's a really good documentary on Netflix about Norman Lear, and it talks about all the shows and how did he put them all together, and how he made Sanford and Son was intended to be like Fred Sanford was meant to be a black Archie Bunker. Um, but anyway, like the people that says, "Oh yeah, they couldn't handle it today," it's like no, actually, be the other way around. Can you imagine if All in the Family was being made today? and someone like Alec Baldwin was playing Archie Bunker, Trump would be calling for it to be canceled. And by the way, Nixon was wanting All in the Family took off the air back then. If you find it on YouTube, there's actually the tapes. It's really hard to hear him, but they put the words up on the screen, I'm pretty sure, where Nixon's on tape, like an audio recording of Nixon talking about All in the Family and how it should be taken off the air and how awful that it is. And he even says, I won't say the word he uses, but he uses a homophobic line to describe Rob Reiner. He says, "I don't know." He said, "There's this guy there. He's making us look bad. This guy's making us look stupid." Talking about Carol O'Connor, and he's like, "And I don't know the son-in-law if he's whatever," and he calls him a derogatory word. Um, but he's like, "This show's going to do damage to us." Well, used to satire was used that way, and some people thinks it couldn't be done today, but I still think it could be if it was done the right way. I think satire can really do a good job of exposing the stupidity of people's beliefs. And there's satirical content creators out there. There's people I follow that's doing satirical shit all the time, and they're good at it. Um, I think if you can get people to laugh and you can make them think. But yeah, shows like All in the Family used to come with a warning label when it first started. But yeah, so I mean, I forgot about Soul Train. Completely forgot about that one. Someone said they thought Archie was a real person. I've met so many Archies in my life. You'd think he was. Klinger was one of my favorites on MASH as well. The Jeffersons is a classic show. I love the Jeffersons. And what I loved about Klinger on MASH, one of my favorite things about Klinger, someone just said the Munsters. I still think Lily Munster is one of the hottest human beings that ever lived. That's another subject. Um, Klinger, um, what I loved about the character of Klinger is, he was trying to get a Section 8, and so he wore dresses, um, trying to get a Section 8 so he would be released from the Army. But no matter what he was dressed up like, he always did his job. He always helped the wounded. He might have been goofing off and cutting up, but he never wavered on helping people. I remember one episode he was dressed up like Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz. That's one of my favorites. And then he also does the one where he dresses up like Marilyn Monroe and wears that dress that blew up. That's great. But there's one where he's got a little dog and like Toto in The Wizard of Oz. Um, that's a good one. But he always did his job. And then later on in the show, like once you get up, I don't remember what season it was. It's later on, like maybe 7, 8, somewhere through there. Because hell, the show lasted 11 years, and the Korean War only went 3. But later on, eventually, Klinger just drops the whole dress gimmick and just puts on his uniform, and then he ends up staying in Korea after all that. After trying to get out for the entire show, we ended up marrying a Korean woman and staying in Korea. Um, I think that as far as finales go, that goodbye, shit, goodbye, farewell, and amen. That's one of the greatest finales of all time. Red Skelton, we can't forget him. You're right. All in the Family was based on an English show called "Till Death Do Us Part." That's true. And Sanford and Son came from, I think it came from Britain too. I'm pretty sure it was Steptoe and Son. And later on, the guy that played on Steptoe and Son actually made a cameo on Sanford. Just useless information. MacGyver. I can't believe someone said that. That's great. I loved, man, when I was a kid, I absolutely loved that show. I don't know how I'd feel if I watched it today, but as a kid, I used to always think that if I got trapped in something, I could get out like MacGyver. You know, I used to always say to myself, like if I ever get locked in a freezer, I can use a Q-tip and a rubber band or some shit and get out. But yeah, I've seen that Munsters episode. Someone was talking about the Munsters episode where Herman Munsters um, telling his son about the different races. I forgot about that. That's great. Barney Miller, Mork and Mindy, Flip Wilson. Yeah. Well, that was a good note to end on, man. We could talk about these sitcoms all day long. I really appreciate y'all hanging in there and hanging with me as we cleanse our palates after talking Trump. It's it's good to do. Um, I mean, the Adams Family is great. I love the Adams Family too, but I always love the Munsters. I have to say the Munsters was my favorite. Um, I loved everything about that show. Yeah, MacGyver my way out of something. Yeah, I'll say that too. Yeah, there's so many good ones. Alfred Hitchcock. You know, a lot of that stuff. I'm sure back. I remember back in the day being terrified of some of that stuff. And then the older you get, the goofier it looks. Like Jaws used to terrify me as a kid, but now when I watch it, I can laugh out loud. But yeah, that's the thing about those old sitcoms. There usually was a lesson to be learned somewhere, even on Archie Bunker. One of my favorite Archie Bunker episodes ever, probably the favorite Archie Bunker episode ever, is when him and Meathead gets trapped in the freezer together, and he does the whole part there where all they got's liquor to drink in there, and they get drunk sitting there together in there, and at one point Archie's telling him about how his dad was, and he says he's talking about how his dad used to beat him and stuff, and then Meathead looks over at him and says, "Did you ever stop and think, Archie, that your dad could be wrong?" And he gets mad. He's like, "Don't you tell me that!" And he starts talking about how your dad is the guy that's the first one to throw a baseball to you, is the first one to be there for you when you're a kid and do things. And he's like, "And how could you ever say that that man was wrong?" And he makes Rob Reiner think. He makes the meathead character think in that moment. That's one of my favorite episodes. Shabuti, yeah, that's so powerful the way that they pull that off. It really is. But I appreciate y'all for sticking with me. I'm battling some allergies at the moment. I hope that's all it is. I hope it goes. I hope it don't go any further than this. I was sitting in line getting my kid from school, and it just hit out of nowhere. So hopefully, hopefully I get over it. Sadder sitcom: Colonel Blake's death or James on Good Times. Oh man, that's hard. God, I don't know. Like I think I think Colonel Blake's was like almost more shocking the way that Radar went about telling it, but the way that Florida reacts to James dying is the gut punch. I mean, like you're shocked that he did. You're shocked that someone like that on a sitcom would die, but then you know when she breaks down in that, I'd probably give the nod to Good Times. It was sadder for that reason. Her breaking down the way she did was sadder. Colonel Blake was just such a shock. Um, the way that they went about that was the way I can still remember the way Radar, said there's no survivors. But yeah. So yeah, it's been a great show. I've really enjoyed these winding down moments where we talk about other things and cleanse our palates. And I'll be back here again on Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern. So just we'll come back and do it again. Hope everyone had a great time, and thank y'all so much for bearing with me as I try to plow through this cold that I've got. But it's always a good time talking with y'all. I love these conversations. I love when we wind down this way. It actually, to tell you the truth, like I'm just gonna be brutally honest with y'all. I've always loved doing the show, truly do. But when you talk about this stuff the way that we do, you talk about everything that Trump's doing, and then it's like okay, and you hit the stop button. You're like, oh fuck, and it's like I don't know. There's something about it to me. It's like I'm really enjoying this. And I was talking, with some of my friends who are creators, because me and Tom Powell did it. We wound down and talked about the Grateful Dead. I was telling Coach D one day, I was like, man, you need to come back on the show. We need to do the winding down scene, and because I don't know what kind of music you listen to or what your favorite movies are. We've never talked about nothing like that. We've always been strictly on the politics. So, it'll be fun when I bring guests on as well and we do this together. Um, but I think for me, it's like a lot of times the show ends and it's like, oh, damn, that was heavy what we was talking about. So if we wind down talking about other things, it is. It's like emotional comfort food for the soul. It truly is. So, yeah, I really appreciate y'all so much for being here. I'm going to have to go ahead and go. Got one more day of school with the kids tomorrow, and I'm always looking forward to the weekends these days for that reason. But anyway, I hope everyone has a good rest of your evening. I will be back here again on Tuesday. this coming Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern, same time, same channel, and hopefully I'll be able to get it figured out why we wasn't able to stream to Facebook tonight, and hopefully I'll be able to get it back over there to them as well. But anyway, I thank y'all so much for being here. Hope everyone had a great night, and I will see you on Tuesday.